So hey guys, I'm Nate. I'm an entrepreneur. I've spent my career working in finance at big institutions and then going into smaller deals and raising a bunch of money and building companies. And right now I'm in the middle of a hot deal. It's a software business based in Miami. We just flew in yesterday, beautiful Miami. And basically it's a really important deal because it's my first time actually working within software. For the longest period of time, I've been really stunned by looking at software companies, how quickly they grow, how profitable they are, and I wanted to get into this business. And so I spent the last 6 months looking across the country in the United States for software businesses. Software businesses not only that are good businesses, but that actually are for sale and at a good price. And I finally found one here in Miami. I'm really excited about it. I signed something called an LOI, a letter of intent, on September 15th. And now at December 14th, we literally have a day left on something called an exclusivity period. So basically, I had a 90-day period where I could look at the deal. I was the exclusive buyer that could actually have access to all the data room and due diligence, and then basically sign a definitive agreement, definitive contract to buy the company. I'm almost at this point now where I'm ready to sign the deal, but I still have a little bit of due diligence to be done by my backers, my investors. And this is where it really comes in for entrepreneurs that may not have the capital to buy out a business for $5 or $10 million. You might be wondering, how can you do that? Well, if you're that type of entrepreneur, you can still raise the capital, but you got to find backers. And though I've made some money over my career, I still don't feel comfortable putting all of it into buying out this software business. So I want to have partners behind me, not only providing money, but also providing the expertise, the advice, and just having an alternative perspective, right? Because look, if you buy a business, you close the deal, day one as CEO or owner of that business, you got to figure out a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you got to figure out to actually make this business work, to grow it, and to find a successful exit in 3, 4, 5 years down the line. And so having a good board of advisors around you, particularly if they're invested in your deal, that's only going to help you. Right? You gotta be confident when you're a deal maker. You also gotta be humble. You gotta know what you don't know. And so, a lot of people ask me, like, how do you pitch a deal? That's a really important thing to learn if you're gonna get into business in general, especially in buying small business. Okay? So the first thing I'll tell you is this: have confidence, because there's a lot of capital in the world. Even with the latest high interest rates and decline in the stock market, there's still a ton of capital. There's a lot of people with a lot of money, whether it's a family office, whether it's private equity, whether it's just your friend's rich uncle. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of capital in the world, especially in the United States, and they're looking for good deals. They're looking for good vehicles to compound returns and make money rather than investing in treasury bonds or something like that. So there is capital, and people like backing young, hungry entrepreneurs, whether male or female, whatever you are. If you're somebody that's willing to work and try to build something, people want to back that. At the same time, you got to know your stuff. That's really important when you're pitching a deal. The first thing you're really trying to prove, rather than the actual deal itself, is you're trying to prove out yourself. Who are you? What have you done? What's your character? What's your education, whether through traditional education or otherwise? What's your resume? What have you actually built in the past? What have you done? That's number one. Number two, when it comes to the deal, is why is this deal attractive? I look at a couple things in terms of the attractiveness of a deal. I look at number one, valuation. How is this valued compared to peer companies or other transactions in the space? For example, small to medium-sized software businesses, I compared the valuations. This deal's at a 6 times EBITDA, or operating income multiple. It's a very good valuation. Compared to last year, 2 years ago, some of these businesses were selling for 40 times EBITDA. So there's a huge valuation gap there. That's a great opportunity. The second thing on top of valuation is you're going to look at what are the risks? What are the things you don't know that you're going to find, you're going to solve? And what's the downside? What's the probability of this thing going to zero? That's a big concern for people when they're making acquisitions. Is there anything we don't know? Is there any problem in the business? Is there any reliance on a certain employee that could leave? Is there reliance on a certain customer? That's called customer concentration. If you got a business and their main customer is 60% of revenues and that customer leaves, that business could go bankrupt in 3 months. So you got to watch out for some things like that. You got to be able to answer and really think about, with this deal, what are the risks and how are you going to respond to objections to those risks? Very important, okay? So you've covered the downside by talking about risks. You've covered also the upside by talking about how the valuation of this deal is attractive. You've built trust by demonstrating who you are and being relational too, right? So you don't have to only just talk about all corporate about your resume. You can also just be personal. You can say, hey, this is why I'm passionate about this industry. This is why I'm passionate about this deal. This is why I want to get into business and build a business because of X, Y, Z, right? So for myself, for example, I could talk about how I've always wanted to get into software. And though I'm not a pro on software, I've been reading about it. I've been looking at deals in the space. And not only that, I've brought on some partners that can help me on the software side. So in terms of managing coders, talking about product management, adding new features, that's going to help fill some of those gaps while I focus on running the business and helping it to grow. So those are some of the things that I would think about. Finally, one thing I would say is that you've got to be very confident when pitching. You can't have any doubt in your voice. So you've got to really be sure about the deal yourself. If you're not sure about the deal yourself, then people are going to feel that. And no one's going to invest in somebody that isn't sure about their own deal. So you got to do your own homework and be really confident in your own deal, right? Don't pitch anything you don't think is a good deal from a risk-return perspective. So if you need some advice on that, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to look at deals all the time. I've helped numerous people close deals, $5, $10, $20 million deals or more, and really help them, whether it be raising capital, whether it be advising on a certain acquisition, or just talking about a certain industry or sector or trend. I'm always happy to do that because I'm really passionate about working with entrepreneurs and helping them to basically find deals that will allow them to build the freedom and the wealth that we all desire. Because let's be honest, like, do you think working, like there's office towers around here in Miami, do you think that working in an office, making 80 grand, 100 grand, maybe you work your way up, make 150, 200 grand a year, you think doing that, working for the man, is going to build you wealth in this economy? Even in Miami here, you get a small apartment, it's costing you 3-4 grand a month. You know, the government, the taxes keep going up, they're going to take a huge chunk of that salary. You're not really getting further ahead. I think for me personally, the best way to build wealth is to do deals. Whether it be in real estate, finding a good deal at a good valuation and getting equity in that, building that over time as you pay down your mortgage, whether it be buying software businesses that I'm getting into now, whether it be buying a plumbing and HVAC business that is at a very good valuation, because not a lot of people want to buy those businesses these days. Everyone wants to be a TikToker, everyone wants to be a content creator. No one wants to get their hands dirty and buy these businesses. That means you can buy them for 25% return on your money or more. And then you layer on debt, which I'll talk about in future videos, and you basically make a huge spread on the return. So that's basically what I want to support, is helping people get out of this rat race, which not only is soul crushing, but also you're not actually building wealth from it anymore. It worked for our parents back in the day. It's not working anymore. We all know that. And basically helping people to take the steps towards actually building wealth. So those are some of my thoughts on that. Follow, subscribe, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, whatever, DM me. And always happy to talk to entrepreneurs in the space, whether you want to come into it or whether you're an active player.